Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. They just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big.
What do you think of Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis? I know on Instagram you called it a circus.
Yeah, boxing is slowly turning into the WWE. That's what I think.
Does Tank Davis have a chance?
Yes, but
yeah?
I don't even want to talk about it. Don't ask me questions like that again.
Terence Crawford has slammed the Jake Paul versus Tank fight, calling Tank too small to even last one round. He said that when he first heard about Gervonta Tank Davis agreeing to fight Jake Paul, his reaction was a mix of disbelief and confusion. The matchup to him just didn't make sense. Davis has spent his career dominating the lighter weight divisions, and Jake Paul, no matter what people say about his boxing background, is a full-fledged cruiserweight with serious size and strength on his side. Crawford's take is simple. Physics alone would end the fight before it even began.
I believe that this is a mismatch, and I believe that Jake Paul will knock Tank Davis out, maybe in the third, maybe in the fourth round. Tank will try to move, he will try to stick and move. It's not gonna work out for him, and he will eventually get knocked out.
Jake's just too big for Tank, way too big, Crawford said on the Full Send podcast. Coming from him, that carries weight. While Crawford has never been the biggest supporter of Gervonta Davis, he's always acknowledged Tank's talent, his power, precision, and explosive timing. But as Crawford pointed out, none of that matters when your opponent outweighs you by 30 to 40 pounds. Size and physics, in this case, tell the whole story.
Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I mean, I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure. Do you think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah, I mean...
Tank is very talented, he can punch hard, he's explosive, but Jake is just too big, Crawford said, emphasizing that even if Davis came in heavier at around 145 or 150 pounds, he'd still face a huge disadvantage that skill alone couldn't fix. To Crawford, it's a classic case of power versus precision, and Jake Paul's power would likely prevail. He also noted that Tank's recent form hasn't been his best, his majority draw against Lamont Roach at Brooklyn's Barclays Center left fans questioning his sharpness. While many expected an easy win, Tank appeared slower and less crisp. So when the announcement came that he'd jump several weight classes to fight Jake Paul, it stunned the boxing world. For Crawford, the move seems risky and senseless, a fight driven more by spectacle than strategy, offering Davis little to gain and everything to lose.
It's kind of weird, because Jake Paul is extremely bigger than Tank. And I mean, but with it being
Meanwhile, Jake Paul has crafted a career that's as controversial as it is calculated. He's faced MMA fighters, aging boxers, and most recently, even a retired legend. In November 2024, he persuaded former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson, nearly 60 years old, to step back into the ring. The fight captured worldwide attention but ended as many expected, with Tyson unable to keep up and losing on the scorecards. Crawford, however, isn't impressed by the spectacle. For him, it's not about Jake's fame or business savvy, it's about the fundamentals of boxing. Weight classes exist for a reason, and ignoring that, he says, turns the sport into a circus.
Tank looked very uncomfortable facing off. He just did. I've seen other face-off this Tank done. He gets in their face and they're intense and he looks good. He looked very meager up there. You've had 8 fights and you're gonna go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. There is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious...
Fighters build their entire styles around their body frames, how much they can absorb, how fast they move, and how far they can reach. Crawford recognizes that Jake Paul isn't as slow as many think, but he still views this matchup as a complete mismatch. When asked who would win, Crawford didn't hesitate. Jake's just too big. If he lands one clean shot on Tank, it's over. Jake can punch with that right hand, the dude's big, not as slow as people think, and he can hit. For Crawford, that's the key difference. It's not about Jake being a technical master, it's about raw physics. The power gap compared to Tank's size would be devastating. In boxing, a 10 or 15 pound difference already changes everything, but at 40 or 50 pounds, it's a whole different world.